Hey guys, it's the Forbidden Duelist here from the Double Dueling Duo, and me and Lord Burger have both decided that our first video will be a deck profile of our main decks. He mains Black Wings, I main Exodia, so let's get started. Suggestions are welcome, constructive criticism, please, no hate comments, etc. Shouldn't have to warn you guys about that, hope you're mature enough for that. But let's get started. My deck consists of some monsters. It consists of a bit of traps and quite a few spells. Then a side deck. Every deck should have. Okay, let's get started. Exodia. Explained itself. Don't really need to go into that. 1. Emissary of the Afterlife. What this card does, it's basically a free Exodia piece as long as it's not the head. When this card is sent from the field to the grave, I get to add, or both players, add 1 level 3 or lower normal type monster from their deck to their hand. So basically, this is a free, I get an Exodia piece, and it's also a free look at my opponent's deck if they do not have a level 3 or lower monster in their deck, because they must show proof that they do not have a level 3 or lower normal type. So this is good near the beginning if you want to get a good feel of your opponent's deck and what you're dealing with. Something I don't see in a lot of Exodia decks is a Max C, which is an obvious choice. Why? Dark Worlds, Heretics, Quasar decks. I mean, anything that's special summons to hell. What Max C does is during either play turn, I can send this card from my hand to the graveyard. Anytime my opponent would special summon a monster this turn, I immediately draw 1 card. So basically, you'll be scared to special summon unless you got balls and special summon like 26 times per a turn and make me draw 26 cards. So yeah, it also scares people when I have dangerously low life points and I activate Max C when I have only a little bit of deck left, and they're like, I don't know if I should Gaga Cowboy because, you know, he only has like 4 cards left in his deck, and yeah, stalls the turn basically. 2 card Ds. This card is good basically for a filler and free 2 cards. I will set whatever I can in my hand, I will activate what I want to in my hand, and then summon card D, send to grave, end my end turn. So, cannot be special summoned during my main phase 1. If this card be normal summon, or if this card was normal summoned this turn, I contribute this card, draw 2 cards, then it becomes my end phase. You cannot special summon during the turn you activate this effect. So basically this is a summon, grave, draw 2, or doesn't have to be the grave, it says tribute, so even if it's banished you still get the effect. My stall cards. Swift Scarecrow. What this card does is when my opponent declares a direct attack, I discard this card, negate the attack, and end the battle phase. This does not have to hit the graveyard for it to work. It can be banished. All you have to do is discard it. This card does not work against Felgrand if its effect is activated. It doesn't work against Star Eater. And those are the only cards I know that really majorly affect Swift Scarecrow. Swift Scarecrow does target, so if there's a card that says it can't be targeted, you cannot use Swift Scarecrow. But you can use Battle Fader, which is what I will get to in a second. Or right now. I run 3 Battle Fader. When my opponent would declare a direct attack, I can special summon this card from my hand, negate the attack, and then end the battle phase. This can work on Star Eater. This can work on Felgrand, because this card does not target, which is good. When this special summon card would leave the field, it is banished instead, which means I am protected against somebody trying to Flagship of Corn, deal 1,000 damage because it banishes, it doesn't hit the grave, they can't get their effect. I run 1 Exodios, the Ultimate Forbidden Lord. What this card is good for is the cost, which is basically I return all monsters in my graveyard to my deck. This I main for getting Exodia pieces back. So a lot of people say, hey, what are you doing? That's just going to take up room, dumbass. I'm like, oh, okay, well, say that to the guy who played Mermails and got really mad after I activated this and then activated Hope for Escape and drew the last pieces of Exodia after he discarded like 3 of them, and he's like, wow. I only had like 5 cards left in my deck when I used Hope for Escape, so it was hilarious. 1 Day of Peace. This card, well, moving on to spell cards. When this card is activated, both players draw a card, and neither player takes damage until the end of my opponent's turn. So basically, I can't take damage from Gaga Cowboy, any attacks, any kind of thing that would do damage, and the only damage we take, which isn't really taking damage, is paying costs. 3 Upstart Goblins. What this card does is I draw 1 card, then my opponent gains 1,000 life points. So basically this is a, here have 1,000 life points, and I get to draw a card. It benefits me both ways, so that works. I run 2 Pot of Duality. I don't run 3 because I'll never use 3 Pot of Dualities in a duel, let's just be honest. Reveal 3 cards from the top of my deck. I add 1 of them to my hand, then shuffle the rest back in the deck. You can only activate 1 Pot of Duality per turn. So basically this is a, let's look at the top 3, add 1 to my hand, freebie. So yeah. This is one of the newer cards that I absolutely love. It's basically a spell card that is Big Eye. The flip effect, Big Eye. Card Advance. What this card does is I look at the top 5 cards in my deck and arrange them in any order I want, which is awesome. It has a secondary effect, which can be good for Monarchs or whatever else. It doesn't necessarily have to be for Exodia, look for top 5, whatever. Its second effect is that I can tribute summon 1 monster in addition to my normal summon or set this turn. So basically, they normal summon, and then they can use another effect, or they can tribute summon, so it helps with Monarchs or whatever else. So it helps with a good variety of cards. I run 1 MST. This MST is used for, let's say, fuck Wiretap, fuck your set, Solemn Warning, I hate it. Hopefully I get lucky, smack a card that I don't like. I run 1 Jar of Greed. It literally says, I draw a card, so that explains itself. I run 1 Dark Bribe. What this card does is when my opponent would activate a spell or trap card, I can negate it, then destroy it, and they draw 1. So, let's say you wiretap my Hope for Escape, and I say, ha, no, Dark Bribe. Yeah, there was this one time, I was on Dueling Network, I flipped 2 Hope for Escapes and 2 gift cards, and he was like, he flipped a trap stun, and he was like, ha ha, good game. I was like, ha ha, shut up, activate Dark Bribe, and he was like, oh, and then he quit. So, Dark Bribe really comes in handy. 3 Hope for Escape. What this card does is, when my opponent has at least 1,000 more life points than me, I pay 1,000 life points, then I draw 1 card for every 2,000 point difference between our life points. So basically, my opponent has 17,000, and then I have 2,000. Let's say 17 minus 2,000, or 17 minus 2 is 15. 15 rounds down to a number that's divisible by 2, which would be 14. 14 divided by 2, which is 7, which means I would draw 7 from Hope for Escape. It's a Mega Draw whore. 3 Legacy of Yatagarasu. This card basically is a Jar of Greed. I draw 1. Now, on the off chance I face a Spirit deck, it has a second effect. If my opponent has a Spirit monster on the field, I draw 2. So, that is like a free Reckless Greed, except it's not a Reckless Greed. I run 3 Reckless Greeds. This card is awesome, basically for getting through the unwanted cards. You better have a good hand before activating this, because you might fuck your draw phases, so beware. Don't overuse Reckless Greed and draw lock yourself to where your hand is now ass. Okay, the last 3 cards in my deck, or so I say the last 1 card, 3 copies, whatever. 3 gift card. All it does is gives my opponent 3,000 life points. This works well with Hope for Escape, obviously. The max I can get my opponent to is 20,000, because 3 Upstart Goblins means 1,100. Plus 3,000 is 14, plus 3,000 is 17, plus 3,000 more is 20,000. So imagine that I have like 800 life points after I activate Hope for Escape, and my opponent has 20,000, which has happened. I draw literally 9. So that is a pretty amazing combination. Try and Guess works just like gift card, but I don't run it simply because I don't feel like it. Plus, there's a risk my opponent might not even have an extra deck, and yeah. My side deck, 15 cards. It's usually really hard to come up with a side deck with Exodia, but I managed to come up with a few good cards. 3 Gemini Imp. I'll explain what this does right now. When a card effect controlled by my opponent's monster is activated, which would cause you to discard from your hand, by sending this card from my hand to the graveyard, negate the activation of the effect of the card and destroy it. Then draw 1 card. So basically this says, fuck Dark World Dealings, fuck your card that would make me discard, I like my hand, then I draw 1. So that's really well. I side 3 of these in my side deck. For times when my opponent is just fucking me up. They never seem to have a response for Swords of Revealing Light, so I cite it. What this does is when I activate it, all my opponent's monsters are flipped face up. This card remains on the field for 3 of my opponent's turns. While this card is face up on the field, my opponent cannot attack. So this basically stalls them to death if they cannot get rid of it. Okay, so Jinzo is a bitch. So I run 3 Soul Takers. What this card does is I target 1 monster on the field, 1 face-up monster on the field that my opponent controls, and then I destroy it, then my opponent gains 1,000 life points. So this works with Hope for Escape kinda too, but I mainly side this because Jinzo is a bitch. 1-dimensional Fisher, this completely fucks Sylvans, Mermails, Dark Worlds, any other thing that relies on graveyards, cough, Lightsworns. So that is awesome. I side 2 Dark Bribes just in case my opponent has like a bajillion wiretaps and trap stuns that I need to side, you know, more counters. I run 1 Soul Drain. What Soul Drain does is I pay 1,000 life points. My any effect that would activate in the graveyard does not activate. So that works well with destroying Sylvans, Exodia, etc. Imperial Iron Wall. What this card does is cards cannot be banished. This is only for if my opponent likes to banish everything and it just gets annoying. The last card in my side deck is a Jar of Greed. This is just here as a filler. The main thing I want to get in my side deck, the last thing I want to get is a Rainbow Life. What Rainbow Life does is I activate it, I discard a card, then any damage I would take this turn, I instead gain that much in life points. So let's say they Gaga Cowboy, I flip Rainbow Life, I would gain the 800 instead of losing it. So I will go through it really fast and recap. Side deck. 3 Gemini Imp. 3 Swords of Revealing Light. 2 Soul Taker. 1 Dimensional Fisher. 2 Dark Bribes. 1 Soul Drain. 1 Imperial Iron Wall and 1 gift card. So that's the side deck recap for you. Now we will recap the main deck if my side deck would stop hogging the board. There we go. Okay. I run triple gift card, triple Reckless Greed, triple Legacy of Yatagarasu, triple Hope for Escape, 1 Dark Bribe, 1 Jar of Greed, 1 Mystical Space Typhoon, 2 Card Advance, 2 Pot of Duality, triple Upstart Goblin, 1 Day of Peace, 1 Exodios, the Ultimate Forbidden Lord, 3 Battle Faders, 3 Scarecrow, 2 Cards, 2 Maxi, 1 Emissary of the Afterlife, and Exodia. So that is my deck profile. Me and Lord Burger are basically rivals. Me and him are pretty much 50-50 with our decks. His Black Wings, let's be honest, the only reason he beats me is because Icarus Attack is a bitch. Tribute 1 Winged Beast, destroy 2 cards that I control. What kind of shit is that? That's some fucking wizardry and it's cheating. He's cheating. Anyways, thanks. Please like and subscribe. Remember, constructive criticism if you have suggestions. I do hope that you watch his deck profile if you haven't already. We will be attending a regionals, hopefully, November 15th, which is coming up next week. Yes? No, this Saturday. There we go. And hopefully we'll get some footage of that for you. We'll do pack openings, you know, more deck profile, stuff like that. We'll record duels. And that's it. I am out of here. Thank you for watching.